Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
The Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. We'll get to Basant in a second. There's some people saying that like to hear Bang a Gong at Rogers Arena. T-Rex. You know the song Bang a Gong.
Get it on Bang a Gong, yeah. Palmer sings that.
Well, Power Station did a remake.
Yeah, but it's
Okay.
T-Rex. Yeah.
Oh,
Mark
okay.
Bolan.
All right.
But no, you're right. There was a remake.
Palmer did it.
Okay. Robert Palmer.
Robert,
The
that's
late-
it. He was
the late
so,
Robert
he
Palmer.
was so good.
So his
Now-
name wasn't Palmer? Is that what you're telling me?
That could be a
Robert
name.
Palmer. He was a good singer.
All right. Today's Monday, right?
Yep. And all of our guests today are
Okay,
presented by
stop
Basant
it.
Motors.
Okay,
It's No Tax
stop it.
November at Basant Motors.
All of our guests today are sponsored by Basant Motors, as the smartass just mentioned. It's No Tax November at Basant Motors this month. Let Basant pay the GST with the purchase of your next new-to-you vehicle. Learn more at basantmotors.com. That okay there, Big Shot?
Yeah.
Canucks on the ice in Ottawa getting ready to play the Senators tomorrow night to begin a 5-game road trip on the heels of losing to Nashville on Saturday, blowing a 3-0 lead, 3-1 in the third period. Here to talk about that, the Canuck goaltending issues, goaltending guru from NHL.com and InGoal Magazine, it's Kevin Woodley. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Let's just hope none of my beer league teammates heard you call me a guru because they're just shaking their heads in disbelief right now. I know it is Monday, but just for Ricky, I know it's not Friday. The Hawaiian shirt, show them that you can actually class up Hawaiian shirts a little bit and make them bright and happy.
Very nice, Woods. Good job.
Yeah. Maybe you want to buy one of those, Rick. He's looking good. Okay, let's get right to it, Kevin. The numbers. Thatcher Demko, .879 save percentage, 3.90 goals against, 1 win so far. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot about the environment. The defensive environment hasn't been great. A lot of seam passes, a lot of slot line passes getting through the middle of the ice that make it really tough on a goaltender. A lot of broken plays in front of the net that they're not cleaning up defensively. And so, 35 goals so far. I got 11 on broken plays, 10 on slot lines, 3 on breakaways. His expected save percentage, which is a great way of sort of measuring how tough that environment is around you defensively, is the 8th lowest in the NHL. In other words, this is not a good defensive environment for a goaltender. Now, all that said, there are 7 other goalies with worse environments, and you can outplay them. You can outplay a bad environment. And, when you look at some of the other guys that are doing so, Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, even UC Saros, who we saw the other night, all guys with worse environments that are outplaying them right now. And that's what we expect of Thatcher. Like, that's what he did last year. Bad defensive environment, top 5 adjusted numbers. This year, down in the bottom 5 in terms of adjusted numbers. So where all those other guys are outplaying bad environments, right now he's not. His adjusted numbers aren't great. They're minus 2.5%, almost flipped from last year when he was one of the top 5 guys. So yeah, it's a little bit of what's going on around him. But he's a guy that's shown he can outplay that type of poor defense in the past. And I think this is a team that's built sort of to require him to outplay that type of environment, and so far he hasn't been able to.
Yeah, we saw that last year. I love it when a guest is extremely involved in our show, Kevin, and you've recommended a couple of clips to back up what you're talking about. Any specific examples of plays that are hurting Demko and or the team the most?
Well, I think Mitch Korn, should be in the Hall of Fame goaltending coach now with the New York Islanders, so one of the greats all time. Divides chances into sort of no chance goals, should have made a save, and could have made a save. And there are a lot of no chances here, but there are also some where I think that's where sort of outplaying the environment comes in. There are some, especially on odd man rushes, where I know if you were to talk to Demko, he probably thinks I could have had some of those. And so we've got some clips of the odd man rushes that we can show. And, listen, you don't want to be giving up the back door, but when you look at his positioning on it, there are times that Olofsson one, you want to be able to get across on that. And because he's sort of not cheating, and you don't want a guy to cheat, but he's so squared up on the passer, he doesn't give himself the chance to get across even on a play that's along the ice. This one, I divide this one into the no chance zone, but as we sort of freeze frame it here and look where he is, he's square on that shooter, but that makes it that much further to get across. It's almost like you need to sort of start cheating and hedging as much as we hate goalies doing that. And this one, to me, this last one is one where he doesn't give himself a chance. Look at his positioning when we freeze frame it here. Way outside. As soon as that pass gets across, he's not even close to getting over on that. So if he can't trust his defense to take it away, he's going to maybe have to start hedging. We see it here again, like not even close on this one. So a lot of people would say, hey, no chance on that. I think you could argue, given on his initial depth on that particular play, that he didn't give himself the best chance. And so that's pretty nitpicky. Clearly, you need to clean up some of these defensive miscues. But if your team is going to consistently allow that pass to get across, especially that Olofsson one, the first clip, high in the zone, and you can't take away the bottom of that tells me you may need to start taking a little less ice and shortening the distance you have to cover when that pass does get through to the other side.
Before we get to the next clip, Kevin, how big of an issue is that? I mean, he doesn't trust his defensemen, so what does that say about the group assembled in front of him?
Well, actually, right now, I'd say he is trusting them, right? Like, he's not cheating on those chances. Like, so this is why this is a little bit of it's almost tough to say, like, hey, you're going to have to start cheating on those cross-ice passes because they're getting through so consistently.
Okay.
This is a league where as soon as you start to cheat, Donnie, guys will pick you short side. And so, it's almost a tough argument to make. Yeah, you got to start cheating because that's not how you want to play it. And so I would argue, actually, when I look at those clips, that he does trust his defense and he has continued to play the shooter square and not cheat off him. But if those passes keep getting through, maybe he has to because they may not be worthy of the trust he's shown thus far.
Okay, and the second group of clips you wanted to show focuses on snowballing being an issue.
Well, and snowballing is just like, man, when things go bad, they just tend to go bad and as a goaltender, and it becomes so. It's like you guys golf, right? Like the mentality
sort of.
you have on a golf course. Well,
try.
Ricky tries. One shot at a time, right? It's the same in goaltending and golf. Like you have to have a one shot at a time mentality. Easiest thing to say, hardest thing to do. So we watched this clip. Now everyone was like, "How did that go in?" Yeah, he was screaming, but watch as he drops into his post as Kaprizov is passing in the middle. That's a play where that puck gets to the hash marks. He normally drops and goes into the post. Now on this next one, there's a hesitation, right? Because he got burned going in too early on the previous clip. Now all of a sudden we see this one. Normally he's bang into that post, short side sealed. But because on the play before he gets burned going in just a smidge early as the puck goes to the middle and he doesn't get back to his feet and out to the middle like he'd like to, there's hesitation there. And that's what I mean by the snowballing effect. Man, when things start to go, and he's had some tough bounces. I talked about all those broken plays. Those are pucks that hit bodies and hit legs in front of you. 11 goals so far off high percentage broken plays in front of him. And part of that is needing to do a better job clearing the area in front of the net. And part of that is just tough bounces. And that's an example where, it's so hard to sort of stick with your system and stick with what you're doing. You go into that post a hair early on the first one. And then on your next chance, you're like, well, I better not commit too early. And as soon as he hesitates to go into it, great play by Zuccarello to tuck it in short side. So, not exactly a technical term when we talk about snowballing, but when that ball gets rolling downhill and it feels like that momentum, there's just nothing you can do to change it. That one shot at a time mentality that we all need to have and want to have as goaltenders can be so hard to maintain because you start to reflect on he's just a hair off in his decision-making process at times, but it feels like every wrong decision he makes ends up in the back of the net. And so it can be tough to sort of just go back to your approach and just trust it on a shot-by-shot basis when every little mistake you make ends up as a goal. So that's that's the job. Like that's the gig. Mentally, you have to reset and be able to restart on every single play. It just feels right now like that snowball's rolling downhill on him, and it's got a lot of momentum, and it's going to be tough to stop.
Okay, so Kevin, when your starter's struggling, that puts a lot of pressure on your backup. And what have you seen from Spencer Matrin so far this year?
Well, I mean, I like the first. I like both starts. There were moments. I think of the odd man rush goal in the second game, and I'm trying to remember. It ended up not costing him because they scored 8 against Anaheim. But the goal that goes in just over his glove side, sort of moving to his left off a rush chance.
Strome.
There you go. And so if you watch his movement pattern in that case, he actually backs in and sort of opens up with a reverse C cut to move to his left. And that delays his movement, and he gets there late, and he sort of waves the glove at it. And but outside of that moment, I've liked his game. That was one where he gets caught sort of locked in low and wide, and that movement pattern just, again, doesn't give him a chance at making a save that you don't expect your goalie to make. But you'd like them to give themselves the best chance. And the way he moved on that was a little awkward, is a little old Spencer Martin. It's not what we've come to expect. Interestingly enough, I saw him and Ian Clark drilling that out specifically within the next couple of days in practice. Again, you don't want to open up with a big C cut to make that move to your left. You want to just sort of get rotation from the top down and get your angle through your shoulders and just push across square. It's just a delay in movement that I don't think we have seen. But other than that, like, everything looks pretty clean. The way he's adjusted to the way they play off the post, as much as little hesitations in those moments have cost Thatcher Demko, we just highlighted it. I think Spencer Martin's been bailed out quite a few times when plays have gone, bang, bang plays in front of the net. He's just stuck with the system and executed it quite nicely and put himself in position consistently to make those saves. Like, he's giving himself a chance to make tough saves look easy just because of how he's moving technically and how he's playing it tactically. So lots to like in his game so far. With a couple of back-to-backs, obviously we're going to see him twice on this road trip, and I'd be curious to see if the numbers continue to tilt in opposite directions, if we may even see him once more. I doubt it, but we're at that point, right?
As a goalie, you must have been a big fan of what Matthew Tkachuk was up to on the weekend. I don't know if you saw it or not.
I'm glad that they at least addressed it. I was worried they wouldn't. You could argue that goalies, if we're going to wear a cat-eye cage to optimize vision that's big enough for a stick blade to go through, then that's a risk. We saw what happened to Darcy Kemper last year in the playoffs. But to have a guy try and stick it through there purposely, I got to be honest with you, I was worried the league would ignore it completely, but it's garbage. It's like purposely sticking a stick in a guy's eye. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially what you're doing there. To me, that should have been more than 2 games. It's one of the more dangerous plays you can make, and to do it purposefully, just it almost boggles my mind, frankly.
Thanks for this, Kevin, and thanks for coming up with those visuals. Appreciate it. We'll get you back on pretty soon.
Yeah, my pleasure, but we can't do it too often. I only have so many of these for Ricky.
Let's go shopping together.
We'll send you a Donnie and Dolly shirt, okay?
In Hawaii, Rick. I prefer to buy my shirts there. Let's go down there.
You and I are right by Bellis Fair. We'll just cross the border, both of us.
All right. Okay.
We can pick up some cheese for Ryan on our way.
That's it. There you go. Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.